Those nasty, mean oil speculators have been wreaking havoc with the paychecks of all of you. And thankfully, the Obama administration will no longer stand for this outrage. I'm Allen Barton. Stand by for Front Page.
This entire move by the White House today is premised on the assumption that there is illegal action. So what concrete evidence can you point to suggest this isn't just optics?
Right. So I would say a couple of things. The first, again, if as I just stated earlier, in 2011, the CFTC filed a civil complaint against several oil companies for potential manipulative activity. Likewise, the FTC has an open investigation into anti-competitive behavior. But I think that there's a broader issue which at stake here, which is that we know that when markets are not adequately overseen, and when there is increased trading volume and increased uncertainty, then that creates opportunities for illegal activity.
Unbelievable.
We're cracking up.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Increased trading activity. Yeah. There's all that opportunity and all that increased growth and expansion for people to do bad things. We know that to be a fact. They need to get a new guy. Sorry, dude, fired. Joining me in studio, Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. I don't even agree with one word that guy says, and I could do a better job of saying what he means.
Yes.
What he's trying to say. Like, dude, pull it together. You're just caught. You're worse than the guy defending Obamacare. All right, so this guy, Brian Deese, he's the whiteboard guy for WhiteHouse.gov. He's Mr. Whiteboard guy with the casual little lies about taxation. He is the deputy director of National Economic Council. He looks like he's a senior in college, but he's the deputy director of the National Economic Council. Terry, what kind of economics is this guy espousing vis-a-vis oil speculation?
Well, first off, it just shows you the callousness and really tragic lack of experience and depth that Obama's economic staff has for just one thing. But for the other, this whole notion that somehow the government has to stand over the markets and basically supervise their trading is absurd. We have a very active oil market here. Markets go up and they go down, and every speculator sooner or later is on the bad end of a trade where they lose money as well as gain. It's not just one way. And the notion that they have to stand there and supervise and literally police trades that need to be made in order for the market to function is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, Yaron, why don't you give us a little bit of a 101 on what the function of speculation is in this market out there, this crazy market with all this trading activity that needs to be monitored. What does speculation do, and why is it always pointed at only in one direction as a negative?
So think about what we have here is a futures market. So what they're really speculating in, and there's speculation going on, what they're speculating in is about the future price of oil. What will oil sell in 3 months and 6 months, a year? Imagine you're Southwest Airlines, and you are now planning your schedule and your fares for the next 6 months. You're advertising them on your website. You need some certainty about what that fuel is going to cost you. So you can enter a future contract with somebody on the other side. Often you don't even know who that person is. A speculator. Or maybe it's an oil company. It could be a refiner or some middleman.
Could be someone with a top hat and a mustache twirling it.
I'm sure they have a mustache. I'm sure they're twirling it. So you're going to lock in. Let's say this is about crude oil, and you want to make sure that you don't have to buy oil 6 months from now for $200 a gallon, because that'll cause you to lose a lot of money on your fares. So you lock it in and you buy it, and the guy says, I guarantee that I will sell you oil for $150. And Southwest is guaranteeing to buy it for $150. Both sides are taking a risk here. I mean, this is the absurdity of this. For every buyer, there is a seller. So somebody is saying, Southwest is saying, we want to protect oil from going higher. The guy who's selling them at $150 is basically saying, I don't believe it's going to go higher than $150. I believe it's actually going to be less. I'm going to make money. So, the idea that
there
speculators...
and there are losers.
Yes, in a
there
futures
are
contract, there's always
counterparties.
There's always a winner or loser. Sometimes it's the airline, sometimes it's a speculator, sometimes it's oil companies,
But the
sometimes
Obama
it's some other company.
narrative is that there are only winners, and they are not the American people.
they're
And there are only people
No, but
selling,
note-
and it's not the American
note
people.
that the
And
American people are the ones who benefit from this, because not only does Southwest get a security, but so do we. The reason we can buy tickets cheaply, well in advance, is because Southwest can go into the market and speculate or hedge their costs into the future. And note, too, that speculators, to the extent that they do drive prices, and there's evidence that they do drive prices, drive them down exactly as often as they drive them up.
the winners-losers thing, and there's an up and down thing. All right, I'm sure this guy's boss will set him straight. So why don't we take a look at this guy's boss, President Obama, and his solution for these problems in the commodity futures market.
And that includes doing everything we can to ensure that an irresponsible few aren't able to hurt consumers by illegally manipulating or rigging the energy markets for their own gain. We can't afford a situation where speculators artificially manipulate markets by buying up oil, creating the perception of a shortage, and driving prices higher, only to flip the oil for a quick profit. We can't afford a situation where some speculators can reap millions while millions of American families get the short end of the stick. That's not the way the market should work. And for anyone who thinks this cannot happen, just think back to how Enron traders manipulated the price of electricity to reap huge profits at everybody else's expense.
All right, I'm going to go back to you, Terry, and then I'll let Yaron, who's salivating.
He's salivating.
All right, he's really salivating. But let me play devil's advocate. We all remember the audio of these Enron traders, who basically were just gleefully driving up the price of electricity in California, and they had all sorts of names and nicknames, and they were just, there were bad actors. It was not ethical behavior. You can certainly say that. So he's saying, look, there are these unethical people out there who drive up the price of oil and affects millions of people putting gas in their tank. What is incorrect about that, or is there something correct about it, and how would you handle it?
Two things. One, the Enron case was completely special because, let's face it, they were trading into a severely regulated market, and the prices were basically rigged in one direction by that regulation, and they merely took advantage of it, and they took advantage, frankly, of the stupidity of the state governments, including my own, California. But the other point to make on this is this has been investigated over and over and over again. 2003 was investigated. 2005 was investigated. It was
in terms of oil speculation specifically.
Oil speculation. 2006, 2008, last year, 2011, and this year it's going to be investigated again. They have never found evidence of pervasive cheating or manipulation of the market, and they never will. It's too big a market. It cannot be done, I don't believe, in a market this big and this liquid.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is a world commodity. Yeah. This is a world commodity. This is being traded in every index across the world, and according to Mr. Obama, there are these few people out there, and they're driving it up. The whole world market, they're driving it up and cashing it in. It's the
they should be driving it up.
The Bilderberger conspiracy.
This is what drives me crazy. They're doing exactly what they should be doing. So let's say there's uncertainty out there. So we're worried about the fact that there'll be a shortage of oil way into the future. How do you prepare for that? You prepare for that by speculators driving up the price of oil, all of us consuming less of it, so that it's not as bad when it actually happens in the future. There's actually oil because the price gone up. People are drilling more for it because they have a greater incentive for it. We're using less of it. And you know what happens after that? The price comes down because there's more supply and there's less demand. So that's exactly what he's describing as so-called manipulation and illegal activity is exactly the way the market's supposed to work. And the fact is they keep saying illegal. Well, if there was something illegal, then arrest them. Yeah. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You don't need new laws and regulations to catch crooks.
And he was asking there, I thought he was going to talk about it, he's asking for $52 million, by the way. Another $52 million, which is like pennies. I mean, it's a fraction of a penny of what he's spending. $52 million, though, to launch an investigation on illegal oil speculators out there driving up the price.
Well, the other point on this that needs to be made, and Yaron's perfectly correct, speculators drive up the price when they expect supplies to be tight. Well, what is one of the main things causing supplies to be tight? It's our federal government doing things like not approving the Keystone XL pipeline, not approving oil drilling offshore, not approving ANWR drilling, not approving drilling on the 1.8 trillion barrels of oil
in
that we have.
2008, we saw a big drive up in prices, and I think Bush, he said, like, we're going to drill here, here, here. Just him saying it, the price went down by half or something. It cratered.
It literally dropped while he was speaking, $9 a barrel, while he was speaking and announcing it.
So if he really wanted to go after speculators, the best thing he could do is announce lots of drilling around the country. Prices would drop, all those speculators would lose money. Of course, the speculators who are betting on it going up, not the speculator betting on it going down.
The ones who are short are going to make a ton
exactly.
of money.
Oh, but we can't have that either, too. I mean, the problem here, and this is consistent with this tax policy, this is consistent with them going after Apple and the publishers, these people hate the idea of people making money. They hate the idea of people actually working and making a lot of money, by being productive.
I'm going to spend just 10 seconds each or 15 seconds each on the idea of inflation in oil prices, because one of the things you can look at is go like, hey, you know what? Your dollars are buying a lot less oil these days, and yet they always say there's no inflation, there's no inflation, there's no inflation. Who cares about stimulus? There's no inflation. Isn't this a symptom of inflation, that, in addition to the supply and demand aspect?
It is a symptom of inflation, because let's face it, energy is part of virtually everything we do as an economy. It's part of our transportation grid. It's part of our manufacturing. It's part of our homes. And it's very, very costly. And what has happened is we've got a government that has printed $2.5 trillion in excess dollars. And people see this and they say, wow, the dollar's not going to be worth very much. We better start asking for more for our oil, because it's being paid for in a unit that is shrinking rapidly in value.
Absolutely. One way to look at this is a sign of the declining value of the dollar. The dollar purchases less and less and less, and maybe we don't see it in a wide basket of goods like the CPI is supposed to represent, but we're definitely seeing it in oil, in food, and in a few selective...
CPI, which excludes energy and food.
So you're seeing it in selective
the
things.
Awesome CPI.
But it is. A huge component of this is the uncertainty of war with Iran, the uncertainty about drilling, and the inflation expectations.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. For Yaron and Terry, I'm Allen Barton, and you've been watching Front Page.